Hey guys, J-Man here, and this is the weekly X-Men talk. It's an important one today. This is The Powers of 10, number 6 of 6, the final of the relaunch, or whatever you're calling this thing, the Dawn. Well, the Dawn of X is the next thing that's coming up. But, okay, so as always, spoilers are in effect right now. I'm not going to go through everything in this comic, but I'm going to talk about just some of the things. I read this really quickly. I was tired of using the iPad, and I thought, why not use the actual comic so you guys can see it better. And here's a quote to start things off. And it says, "And now we build Professor X." So this goes back, and you're going to recognize some of these pages if you've been following along. Remember in the carnival where Moira and Charles were talking on the bench? So that's there. We kind of go back to that, and he reads her mind. She says, "Read my mind," so that he can see all the different lives that she's led. We see the future with her and Wolverine being the only two people left. And Wolverine basically, now that she knows everything that's going to happen, she's realized that the mutants will always lose in the end. Various things will happen, all the different lives, whatever it is, the mutants will always end up losing. So Wolverine kills her and says, "Okay, now you've got all this knowledge, let's go back and try again." And that's kind of where we're at in this series. So the issue continues on with them talking, and then it kind of just replays some of the stuff that we've already seen previously, where it's when they're celebrating just not the, was it last issue or issue before, where they were celebrating the victory, and they brought back Jean and Cyclops and all that, and Magneto and Professor X are hanging out together, and they were talking to Moira. Oh, now we see that they were talking to her, and she's like, "Okay, we got to be careful about how we do this. We can't have any characters. We can't have any mutants that can see the future because they could screw stuff up." And there's no red. I think it's the Red King has not been announced yet, or Red Bishop. I don't remember. I just read this. That's a fail. Anyway, but yeah. So we get some of her journals in this one, so that's kind of cool. And they so it's more of them talking, having some tea, which I really like. I think that's great. Who else? I'm trying to see where. I know it was just on this page here where they talk about. I read all these things digitally, so I don't remember. Like, page counts don't mean much when you're reading it all digital. All right, so this is the end of this, and it's going to take you right into the Dawn of X. I'm just going to board the bag this while we're talking. My thoughts on this entire thing is that it is awesome. I think I may have been under the impression that this storyline was going to conclude. I'm not sure if other readers out there were under this impression as well. So I was a little bit surprised by the ending, being that it's a non-ending at all. It's just setting it up for another series, which is going to be the Dawn of X, and this is going to be all these new books coming out. Now, that's actually really a brilliant way to do it if you think about it, honestly. I'm not sure what people are going to think about that it just ends with, this is the new life. And I think Hickman, what he always intended was to bring, all the baggage of all the X-Men stuff. There's so much stuff in the X-Men world that even I don't know everything, which I've pointed out, before. And I'm a fan of X-Men. I mean, I've got, X-Men tattoos. I've got tons of toys everywhere. I've got, some key issues up and down. Cyclops and Jean are my second and third favorite characters of all time. I love, X-Men. I like the cartoons. I took part in them. I'm just looking down here. I took part in the Regenesis HeroClix events that were coming out. I took place during the launch for the HeroClix of the animated series HeroClix. Anything X-Men I love. I have lots of shirts, all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot. Even I don't know all of it. I've been going back and reading what I can digitally. It's very hard to keep up. The Claremont stuff is kind of the stuff where I really like that a lot. But I've gone back to read X-Men #1, and I'm trying to even start from #1. And I'm doing some of the Bendis stuff, and then I like the AVX and all that, and then there's all that kind of stuff. So there's just so much to go through for X-Men. And I think that this series really took everything together and made it all kind of make sense the best that they could, and then start something new. And this is now going to start the dawn of X, and then we're going to get all these new titles, and this is what it's going to be going forward. I think it was a brilliant way to wrap this up, or not wrap it up, but to like put this in a nice package to say, okay, are you a person who wants to read X-Men? And yeah, I am. I want to get started, but I just can't. There's too much. I don't know where to start, right? And every time I start somewhere, it seems that the comic ends and then it restarts again, and then I got to figure out again what I'm going to do. And it's just this cycle where you never know where to really begin. This is a definite beginning. If you're an old school X-Men fan, you're going to find a lot to love. If you're just a casual fan, you're going to find, some interesting things that you maybe didn't know about, but it's a great place to start no matter what. So I think that was really geniusly done. So overall, I'm very happy with the way this was. I have a little bit of a gripe, and you can maybe even tell the way I'm talking that I'm not I think having this flip-flop between the two series kind of didn't really need to be done. I questioned that in the beginning of this. So I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not being a naysayer. And it's a nitpicky point, for sure. There's no, But really, they could have just called it House of X and then 1 to 12. That's it. I know the powers of 10, and I understand what's happening, and I understand the going back, and I understand what it is, but I just don't get why it even mattered to do that, because it just made it weird to collect. Because then when I put all this together, I can't remember is it this one first and then this one, and then it was House and then Powers and then another Powers? Look, this is very nitpicky points. Who cares, right? Majority of people are going to collect this, get the trade of this, and they're just going to get the whole thing, and then that'll be it. So obviously that's not really a big deal, but I'm just sharing my thoughts, and that's just a thought that I had. They should have just had House of X and then be done with it. I mean, if that's really the only negative that you're going to give this, then obviously, that's not even a negative, right? Big deal. Who cares? So I acknowledge that that's kind of a nitpicky point that who nobody really cares about, but it's a point for me to mention just because I thought of it. So overall, this has been really interesting. As I said, I think it was great the way they put all this together to get people into this new series. So let's see what happens. Am I thinking, well, I'm sure in a couple of years this is all going to start getting really messy because new writers are going to come in. I do think that this is going to get really messy. And I think because this didn't have a conclusion of some kind, that I don't know if it'll go down in history as a great thing because it just kind of started something new. So I don't know. Maybe it will. Time will tell on that. I really enjoyed it. I think that people who read comics and want something more are going to enjoy it. I think that somebody who's an X-Men fan who has just been really tired of all of these starting overs and, you just don't know what to do anymore. I think you guys will like it or should like it. And this is something, that now we can jump off and be like, okay, here's the new continuity of X-Men. I'm not sure that it really changed the world, because a lot of people were talking this up. It was a great story and it kind of brought everything together, which is a monumental task, and Hickman completed it. So I'm, buddy, it's good stuff. Love it. But is it really something, to be put up against some of the great things in comics? It's not like Watchmen or something, right? But it doesn't matter. It's still really good. And I think it's a great time to be an X-Men fan. And I think it's really exciting to see how this is going to go forward. I'm going to be updating every Wednesday with a new X-Men book. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm really excited for X-Men. I'm going to get the Art Germ cover because Jean is on it. Love that cover. But yeah, so all in all, really awesome. I think the comic book nerds like myself, are going to really love it. Casual fans may not get it, but you know what? If you're a casual fan and you want to start now. This is it. This is your time to get in and become an X-Men fan. Start collecting the books again. Let's see what's going on. You know, comics are up and down, right? Like, I don't see a lot of people at the comic stores anymore. I don't even know if they're doing well digitally. I do buy a lot of stuff digital, but I mean, just today I got a whole bunch of stuff. You know, like I got a whole bunch of stuff today myself. So I mean, I know that not everyone's just gonna go around buying comics because they are expensive. But you know, I think if you want to be into it, then you know, go for it. At least get the X books because they're all really good. Or this was really good. We'll see how they all are. I'm pretty sure X-Men and New Mutants are going to be really awesome. And then I'll see about the other ones. But yeah. Anyway, I've talked long enough on this. It was awesome. Share your thoughts with me. Did I miss something? Maybe some longtime X-Men fan out there is going to say, hey, oh, Jay, man, you missed something. Like, dude, what the hell? What were you doing? There's like this big thing that you totally missed. And if I totally missed it, let me know and I will go back and reread and, you know, maybe... I don't know everything, right? So anyway, that's my thoughts. Great stuff. Looking forward to next week with X-Men. So I will see you then. And until next time.